Chapter 5. Drinking Dreams in the Fontaine du Soleil. Nice, France. So there I was, sitting on a cold blue bench in Nice, admiring the sea's enticing emptiness. It was an utter void, the black expanse of purgatory. The airplanes, voyaging through the vast night, carried hope with the passengers. The streetlights and passerbys behind my back each had stories of their own, problems of their own, hopes and dreams of their own. One day I'll join them again. I leaned back on the sapphire throne, metal bolted into sidewalk, and sipped on my stolen beer. I lit a cigarette. The ritual brought Simon's face to the forefront of my thoughts. The man who taught me how to steal, who forced a smile to my face, who helped me to survive. The least I could offer him were my thoughts. Since Marseille, Simon had been splitting the leaves on my mind with another. Her. I knew it was unlikely that she'd have followed me to Nice. No real motivation to, the way we left things, though she clearly has enough skill. Still, the notion of being tracked sent a chill through my body. If they find me, I die. Who was they to me? The United States? European governments? Journalists? I don't think I ever narrowed it down. Then again, when your enemy is God, it's best to assume everyone is their ally. I think part of me wished the girl would pop up behind the bench and thump me on the back of the head. Every person strolling along the avenue behind my back was her, at least for a moment. Beautiful, smart, definitely a handful. She'd have made Simon think twice about all the women he lumped in with his bitchy ex-wives. That's for sure. I'd have loved to drop it all and tangle my eternity with hers. I fantasized about futures that could never come to pass. I knocked back 3 more beers and smoked a few more cigarettes. Forfeiting my senses to the depraved combo of nicotine and alcohol, I romantically re-scripted the events from Marseille. An idealistic tale of passion trumping reality. The two of us would sail a ship together on the dark Mediterranean Sea in front of me. I would tell her everything. She would understand. She would berate me for my stolen beers and cigarettes. I would concede to her moral high ground. I would care for her, and she for me, and through that blossoming love we would both find a meaning we could attach to life. And we'd sail on like that forever. My vision blurred as the beer began to work its magic. The airplanes became shooting stars, the streetlights were lighthouses guiding the way, the rocky shores a crowd shouting wishes of prosperity for our travels. But Monaco. It always returned to Monaco, my grand hope. I couldn't have nice things until I was free. Smoking a cigarette drunk is exponentially more gratifying than doing it sober. Unfortunately, your ability to perform simple motor skills is severely cut as a trade-off. As I sat on the bench, burning through my freshly stolen pack of Reds with Godspeed, my lack of sobriety got the best of me. I fumbled a lit cigarette between my lips. It fell in slow motion, scorched a hole in my unwashed denim jacket, and left a small circle of burnt flesh on my forearm. I frowned. Not from the pain, I was too drunk for that. Instead, it was the girl's comments from before about my resemblance to the homeless. They'd never been more valid. I'll need to look after myself more. If I walk into the Monte Carlo like this, I'll be stuck with the hopeless losers in the slot hall. Wondering what the street would look like now that I'd gotten good and drunk, I brashly turned around. Directly across from me was a nightclub. Nightclubs are dedicated to drunkenness in a socially acceptable way, whereas I liked drunkenness in a rogue way. Alcohol is the whiteout of life. We drink to cover up what we hate, to forget about the dreary existence we're stuck with for a couple hours. Nightclub people pretend their drinking is a social thing. Maybe it is, but so is sitting at a cafe. Everyone drinks to escape. They just happen to like escaping together. I prefer to sit and get cigarette burns and escape all on my own. Still, I felt a certain camaraderie with the drunks waiting in line. A drunk sees another drunk and thinks, "Hey, you're just like me." If the whole world were drunk, war would be a lot less common. Or at least it'd be more fun. My peers across the street were clad in linen suits and silk dresses, far superior to my uniform that evening, a yellowing white t-shirt and a worn denim jacket. That settles it. I'm getting a suit before I go. I peered at the line and my eyes gravitated toward the front. A hazy image. The bouncer admitting a girl into the club. She had bobbed blonde hair that seemed to glow faintly with the help of the streetlights. A red dress clung to her every curve with unrivaled elegance. Is it? I stumbled and stood, supporting myself by clutching the cold back of the bench. Attempting to suppress the beer's blur momentarily, I squinted and stuck out my neck. It wasn't a stealthy pose. Roughly 20 seconds of conspicuous spying later, she strutted into the club before I could tell if it was her. Can't be. No way. I just have her on my mind is all. My espionage act began to attract confused stares from people on both sides of the avenue. It's important to keep in mind, especially when you're an infamous fugitive, that drinking in excess can be fatal. Anything in excess can be fatal, really. Drinking is doubly dangerous, though, because as it slowly kills you, it makes you quickly kill yourself. Stretching my back, I recovered. I put out my cigarette, tossed the empty beer bottles into a nearby trash can, and took a deep meditative breath before calmly walking back down the avenue to dodge further suspicion. Who knows if I was really in danger? Probably I wasn't. Still, better safe than sorry. I sobered up a little. My hands burrowed into the pockets of my jacket as I retraced my path down the avenue, and I firmly gripped the passport. She's the past. Monaco is the future. Don't lose sight of that. I came to a small park a few blocks away and dirtied the air with cigarette smoke before facing the sea again. I absorbed the moonlit clouds and the sporadic airplanes and the coal-black waters and the pebbled shore. I pictured her. I pictured Simon. The regretful joy they gave me led me only to Monaco and strengthened my resolve. I'd made it just 20 kilometers away from my promised land. All that was left was a bit of gambling, negotiating, and wiggling my way back to freedom. It would all be over in a week. I spent an hour or so, and a couple more cigarettes consumed in this meditation before finally breaking the trance to check my watch. Midnight, huh? Better head back and get some rest. Back in front of the Fontaine du Soleil, I found it was different at night. The soft pattering of water ushered in a nostalgic tide. I blinked and saw the fountain of Philip IV from Madrid. Neptune was a mythical Philip, domineering over marine legions like Philip commanded Spaniards. The god of earthquakes yielded only to the will of Jove, as Philip did only to God. Neptune's fountain was magnificent in the light of day, yet somehow greater at night. Its streams were a bright cerulean, colored by pristine white spotlights. Neptune's bronze subjects nearly vanished under the grip of darkness, leaving the marble master on his own, emanating grandeur in blue. I lost myself in the monument. Maritime voyages with that girl flooded my thoughts anew. The subtle drip of water escaping from Neptune's pedestal and the violent geysers below displayed the peace and chaos that jointly accompany supremacy. Neptune's sovereign stance and serene expression exuded unquestionable mastery in the face of adversity. Lord of the Seas, huh? Sounds like my kind of gig. While analyzing the fountain, I became blind to my surroundings. Since it was past midnight, I supposed the streets would be barren. For that one night, before what I knew would be the most nerve-wracking week of my life, I just wanted to relax. Seeing as I let my guard down, the sudden flash of gold at the opposite end of the fountain absolutely stunned me. I wasn't alone. Any resemblance I had with the earth shaker instantly dissipated. I fossilized on the spot, leaving myself exposed in the open square. The gold flash stopped in place. Through the light mist of the fountain, I could vaguely see silky bobbed hair, the same as before. The extravagant blue radiating from the fountain mixed with her brilliant blonde hair, and gradually the figure across the fountain ceased to glimmer divinely and came into clearer focus. There was no mistaking it. It was a blonde girl with a crimson dress and piercing eyes that sparkled like diamonds even in the dim light. It's her. Our eyes locked through the fountain's spray like a pair of magnets. She grinned with a wave, and her teeth gleamed with assistance from the monument. Without hesitation, I sprinted off. "Wait!" she cried. I didn't. I left her with Neptune and pushed myself for 10 minutes, not letting up or looking back or thinking a single thought. Finally, I reached the street of my hostel and sat down with my back against a storefront. I huffed and puffed to catch my breath, wondering if fate had brought us together. Visions of the two of us traversing the high seas returned, and I suspected, for a moment, that destiny might finally be throwing me a bone. The dream quickly faded. Why would she be here? It's way too good to be true. As the most renowned fugitive of the modern age, almost nothing good could be true. Fate wasn't a character in my story, at least not one who ever felt inclined to be kind to me. I made my way into the room and scattered my clothes around my feet. Even with the alcohol, sleep didn't come easy. My mind juggled thoughts of the girl. She was a princess sailing away with me, and then she was a spy sent to ruin me. I spent hours tossing and turning, back and forth, until eventually my oscillating thoughts gave way to dreams and nightmares. The pendulum continued to swing between hope and despair as my time ticked away.